Welcome to the consult room. The information shared in this podcast is for general educational and informational purposes only and should not be considered medical advice. Please consult your personal physician or qualified healthcare provider with any questions regarding your health, diagnosis, or treatment options.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. This is the second try of me having the fabulous Larry Powalisz on our show tonight. He is an incredible resource. I'm so grateful that I met him through our co-friend who provided our apheresis machines, and we might delve into that a little bit during the course of this discussion. Larry is CEO of a company called Adia Med and Adia Nutrition. Is it Adia or is it Adia?
Adia.
I thought about it
Adia.
after I said it the second time.
You
I'm
were
like,
close.
I'm probably saying
You
that
were
wrong.
close. That's close.
And Larry has an incredible story. Larry is a warrior right down to his little pinky toes. He got a life-changing diagnosis right after finding the love of his life, and he wasn't going to take no for an answer. He knew that heaven wasn't ready for him yet. So he is going to tell us his story of diagnosis, of fighting, and where he is now. And then we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of why he does what he does.
So that means you want me to get started.
I do. I want you to jump in because I want every second with you.
Exactly. All right. So to start off with why I'm doing what I'm doing, to go back to 2021, I got married 5 months after being remarried, I should say. 5 months after that, I was getting dropping foot. My hand was going numb. I was getting brain fog. I first thought it was a knee problem because that's what happened first. My knee was failing. And a PT, a physical therapist, said, no, this is a nerve problem. So it's a neurologist. They did an MRI, diagnosed with 20 lesions on my brain, one on my spine, and said, you have primary progressive MS, which is the worst you can have. And basically said I had 3 to 5 years before I'd be in a wheelchair as fast as I was going now. So I wouldn't accept that. My wife was doing research with me, and thank goodness she, loves me enough to care to do that research. And we found treatments in Mexico and Russia called HSCT, so hemopoietic stem cell therapy, right? So I went to Mexico at the time, and within a 28-day procedure, where they take your stem cells, they take them out of your body, they freeze them, give you chemotherapy. So I did lose my hair, and then put your stem cells back in to build a new immune system. So it's an 82% success rate. It worked. I have a new immune system. I will never have MS again, and I get to start my life over. So it was literally called a rebirth. They actually gave me a little cake with a candle on it. I got a shirt, it said the rebirth, and start all over again. So when I came back, I was so grateful that I wasn't in a wheelchair. I have full movement in my hands. I can do a 60-pound row with my left hand now. No brain fog. I do still have some dropping foot, but we're learning how to reprogram nerves to correct that problem. And there are therapies to do that, and I'm getting better. Okay. I do take stem cells, but they're umbilical cord stem cells from umbilical cord blood, and I take those every 3 months. Actually, not just for my MS or past MS, but I'll never have MS again. It is also for anti-aging. They say that you live 8 to 11 years longer if you do a 3-month treatment every 3 months to stem cells. Okay, so I have a little 7-year-old daughter that we adopted when she was 4. And I want to be around for her, and I want to be able to play with her. I don't want to be that old guy that can't do anything, So that's that story. All right. So when I got back, I was like, I need to help people. I need to pay it forward. I think any major trauma like that, major event in your life changes you. Okay. And I am not the same person. I was a lot more arrogant before. I'm probably still arrogant, but not as bad.
That's not true, listeners. He's not. He's amazing.
I believe that I have to pay it forward, and that's what the rest of my life is to pay it forward. So originally I started with a nonprofit, MS Heal the World, and we got enough donations to send 2 people to Mexico, but that was not enough for me. And by the way, both those patients are in remission. They're both recovered. Okay, so it worked great, but it wasn't enough. So I decided in 2024 to buy a public company, which my friend had available. It was called Adia Nutrition. And I'm like, wow, it's so close to what I'm doing. Let's do that. Let's go ahead and buy it. So I am the controlling interest of that company. We are publicly traded. ADIA is the trading symbol, just like the name. And what we're doing now is we're taking umbilical cord blood stem cells and exosomes, and we're treating patients with that. And we're getting amazing results. I can't make any claims. I can't promise anything, but I can tell you this. Every patient that we see a 90 to 95% success rate. Okay. I'm not making claims because I'm not guaranteeing anything, but we just started an autism study. I think you knew a lot about that before we even started the podcast about that study. We already have roughly 30 children that are in the right now getting treated. Just talked to one of the fathers today. He doesn't know whether he's on the glutathione only side or the glutathione with stem cell. But he said his son's already doing better. So that's huge. And I don't know what side they're on. I won't know for 3 months. I said, don't ever, nobody tell me anything because I want to be just as non-biased as everybody else that's doing it. Like just the same as the parents. But I've talked to 2 parents so far that have had some improvements. Okay, which is great. 1 month of treatment. This is the second month of the treatments. They get stem cells and exosomes once a month for 3 months with glutathione IV and glutathione topical. And that's our protocol. And we're starting a kidney study we're recruiting right now. Same protocol. We had one patient that has type 1 diabetes. That's what he came in for. We knew he had some kidney problems, didn't know how severe they were. He went from a 29 to a 39 EGFR score in 20 days. Well, he is one of the reasons we're doing the kidney study. We've had other patients went from a 50 to a 70. She's 77 years old. Going from a 50 to a 70 is normal.
Huge.
For a 77-year-old, a 70 to 75 is normal for EGFR. So that's great. That's why we're doing the study. Okay.
That is
We
so
have one more
incredible.
study that we just got approved, and that is a lower back study. And we're testing whether we just do a straight IV, so systemic, to improve back pain. And that came about because we saw patients that came in for something else, that had another illness, and they all of a sudden they had an ankle problem. And he said, "My ankle's fixed." Well, he didn't come in for his ankle. He came in for whole nother treatment, and we've seen those kind of things happen. And so we did the last couple of patients with just systemic lower back pain, and they're better. If they go from a 9 to a 2 or 3 pain, that's amazing. All right, so that's why we do these studies.
Now, if you knew what you know now, back before your wife found the clinic in Mexico, would you have done just your product as opposed to going?
I've actually had that question is, 'cause we are going to be doing HSCT at our clinic as well. Okay. I think that is there's over 10,000 people have had that treatment done. It's an 82 to 94% success rate. So I would say that would be your first choice, and then ours would be the second choice. But I can tell you this, we treated a patient with MS. His last treatment was 3 weeks ago. And by the second month of his treatment, all of his symptoms were gone with just stem cells from milk or blood and exosomes. So I just, that's ours is too new to say go that direction. But if you can't afford or don't have insurance for the other treatment, then yes, absolutely try ours. Absolutely. I actually want to do a study with it because this is the second time we did an MS patient that had great results. You know, here's the difference in a lot of places use tissue. I think let's talk about what the difference is. Everybody in the world, okay, is using mesenchymal cells from tissue. Okay. In Panama or a lot of other countries, they grow them. So it's not just the parent anymore. It's now the children of the parent. So they weaken every time you grow them. Why would you want that? And it's a tissue product. It's not a blood product. We're putting blood products into blood. We're not putting tissue products into blood. It makes way more sense. If you think about our product, we have it's a 100 million stem cells, 3 trillion exosomes, which is the largest anywhere in the world. But we have the blood, we have the stem cells from the blood from the same birth, and it's a C-section, healthy childbirth, and we have the same exosomes from that birth. So they're matching. Nobody else is doing that. They're not matching the stem cells to the exosomes. I think it's important. I think they communicate better. Now, that's my belief, and I'm not a doctor. I always say that. I tell everybody I'm not a doctor, but I have done so much research and seen these effects that tell me this is the way to go.
Incredible. So, in terms of the effectiveness, obviously the difference being you calmed your immune system before you put the stem cells. Do you think that that's a missing link where you might think, let's do that and use the stem cells, not from the human? Because like we talked about in our first round that I failed to record, your stem cells are old, no offense, or older, right?
They
They're
are.
not brand new. My stem cells are old. So I always tell people, why do your own stem cells that are coming from, in my case, a moldy alignment, your case, an MS person, even though they killed that off, right? So you don't have that anymore. Why not do stem cells from a brand new little bouncing baby where that, that has never been, it's a pluripotent, so it can make all of the things and they're brand new. Do you ever
Right.
think of combining the two?
So the answer is we can't remove or reduce your immune system and then do this because it's not enough stem cells to bring it back. But that's why the new protocol for the glutathione is a great idea If we can take the toxin, and you're really good about this, you actually have taught me a lot of things about moving toxins, getting the garbage out of their system first, right? Like the TP, the apheresis machine. We're taking out 60 to 7% of your plasma at one treatment, and that removes the heavy metals and the toxins right there. Then give them stem cells, and that is working. We're seeing great results with that. The glutathione, we're seeing great results with that. The reason we did the autism study the way we're doing it with the glutathione spray topical and the stem cells and exomes are because we had some doctors that said, hey, I'm getting some results for glutathione for autistic children. Okay. And others were saying in New York and New Jersey, they were getting results for autism. They were doing 40 to 50 children a month for autism and getting great results. So I said, what if we can just all talk together, get all the doctors to agree, and they agreed to glutathione IV, glutathione topical spray. And the topical spray we use, once you use it for 3 days, there is a study that shows it stays in your body as long as you keep using it. It keeps staying in your body. Because remember, the
Wow.
IV only stays in your body for 2 to 3 hours. So the topical spray is a great idea. And again, we're adding that to many protocols. We're doing this kidney study right now. We're about ready to test out a liver study for liver failure. So there's all these possibilities, cardiovascular, very good possibilities. I can't make any claims, but I can tell you we don't know the limitation of this yet. We have no idea where this is going to end. And I can tell you an interesting conversation I had yesterday with two of the patients that they say that they're smarter, they're thinking clearer than they've ever thought before. And I have to say, I think that is the case because I believe I'm thinking clearer. To start not being a doctor and learning all of these medical terms and learning all these procedures and building a public company that we're currently OTC QB and we're working on becoming NASDAQ. When we're NASDAQ, we're like a Microsoft or a Tesla. And that's my goal. I want to be so big we can never be touched. I don't want the FDA to bother us. I don't want any government agency to say you can't keep doing this. Because to us, this is all natural. Our product is minimal manipulation, a 361 product. People probably don't know what that is, but that means it's not a pharmaceutical product. Pharmaceutical products are called 351s, and all 351s have some side effect. There's something in every medication you take, and then sometimes you have to take a second medication to block what was happening for the first medication, and it goes on and on. Well, we've had zero side effects. There is nothing from in 8 years from our stem cell exome product that has caused us. We're not talking fever. We're not talking a headache, nothing.
So that's interesting that you bring that up because I saw a new patient today. And it's funny because she's done everything. Like I very rarely have a patient like this. Typically they've seen like 36 or 40 doctors by the time they find me. She's seen that many, but she's gone to Mexico over 10 times to get stem cells. And she
Wow.
says, I can't remember. She has 3 different modes of application. I think it was intranasal, I think it was intrathecal, and IV. And she gets all 3 every time she's gone. She goes with her husband, who also is mold and Lyme sick. And she says, and then they go to like an all-inclusive and they can't do anything because they feel so horrible that all they do is lay around. Now, I've never heard that before, right? I've only done your product and another product, which is exosome only. I've never had a side effect, right? I do your product at least every quarter. I try to do it every month, but by the time I think about it and order it, it's usually every
You're like me.
quarter,
Yeah.
right?
We're too busy.
Or I give mine to a patient that comes in and wants them. I've ordered them for myself or Geo, right? So I will do them monthly until I'm totally healed. And then I'll probably do twice yearly or quarterly for maintenance, like you said, anti-aging longevity. I've never even noticed. I joke that it's the most expensive 1 ml injection I ever give myself. And I walk
Yeah.
away feeling nothing, but every time I do it, I feel better. So is that the immune system reacting to, like you say, taking a tissue product and using it IV intrathecal? Is that why
Well,
you think she's having that response?
I I think it's because, like in Mexico, they grow their own stem cells. We don't know how they're doing it. We don't know if there's any type of change to the structuring of the cells. We don't know how they're. If you have a petri dish, and again, I'm not a doctor, but I know all this stuff. 'Cause I've looked it all up, and doctors have told me. If you're growing in a petri dish and you happen to hit the side and it starts going up the side, you've just changed the structure of that cell. You can't ever let it get to the edge of the petri dish, and people don't even know that. Okay.
Wow.
So my concern would be they got bad batches of grown stem cells, would be my opinion. Okay. But I've heard other people getting tissue products and getting sick from them, of course. Again, it doesn't make sense that you would take let's explain the most common way that, like in America, that you get the mesenchymal cells. You buy the placenta and the umbilical cord from the hospital. You grind it. You press it. You have a micron filter, 0.2 micron filter, and that liquid that's left, that's their product. To me, anybody could do that in the garage. Terrible. That's not science. Okay. I'm not being rude. I'm being honest.
Right. Yeah.
Our product, we're actually in the process of partnering with a blood bank very close to our clinic, and we currently have our product we're manufacturing in Miami. We were supposed to buy the lab, didn't get to do that. The son's going to end up keeping it, I guess. Anyway, we're partnering with a blood bank right now. I'm in negotiations to finish it off this week, and that blood bank has biologists, chemists, all of the people that we need to make our product. It's not something just a lab tech could do. There are certain protocols, and there's some that we'll probably do patents on, or at least copyrights on, because we are the only ones that can give you that high concentration of exosomes within the stem cells. There is a way to stimulate them, minimal manipulation, so you're not hurting them, to make them secrete 6 to 8 times more exosomes than anybody else can do. That's why ours is so high of exosomes. Yeah. And I literally think it takes a lot. You have to do the exosomes with the stem cells. I think just stem cells isn't enough. I don't think exosomes are just enough. And it depends on the illness too. If we're talking what type of lung diseases, then you would just need exosomes with a nebulizer and have them breathe it in. Okay, you don't need stem cells for that. And that's why I said I'd love to do a COPD study, love to do an emphysema study, a long-term COVID study, because all of the results that we've done at our clinic and other doctors around the country that have used our product, everyone's had a positive result. That's pretty huge.
That is. I love the inhaled exosomes for lung injury post-COVID. I think that's great. I also like the IV for long haul COVID.
Yeah, exactly. And you could do both if you're trying to solve a major problem. Exactly. When we do, let's say that we did, we had a deteriorating hip. I think I've told you this story a while ago. You and Gio the story. We had a woman come in. She had a deteriorating hip and lupus. And the doctor said, I can't do surgery because of lupus. We're not going to do anything. But the doctor referred her to us. Okay. Dr. Browning read her records and said, I'm going to give you injections, ultrasound guided in your back and your hip. And it was 8 injections of one vial with dilute that with saline, and then a systemic, an IV. Within 3 months, her hip repaired itself. She's one of our spokespeople now because she no longer has lupus either. And that was 2 vials of a Diavita. 2 vials. That was it. Her husband came in about 6 months ago because he was a plumber and his whole back was all twisted and L4, L5 were crushing the nerves. And Dr. Browning did 12 injections in his back and an IV. The next day, they go on vacation in Tennessee. He's snowmobiling and cutting down trees. I'm like,
stop that. Don't do that.
You can't do that. It's only temporary now. It has to heal. But then 2 months later, he sent me a text and showed me him working on a brand new house, doing construction. He said, Larry, I always had 9 and 10 pain. I have a 1, never been over 1 since you treated me. And that was one treatment with 2 vials. That was it.
Incredible.
It is crazy.
Are you using apheresis? Like, how do you decide which people you put? Is it more the immune system people where you're like, hey, go and get your tank cleaned and then add the stem cells versus somebody?
Yeah, a lot of it is what the patient can afford because it is expensive to do everything. But our recommendation is always apheresis first. Alzheimer's, absolutely. If it's some toxins that we believe they may have in their body, absolutely. You want to do apheresis first. Absolutely. And before stem cells. Absolutely. Remember, your stem cell, the new stem cell is only going to do as good as the environment you put it into. So, and again, a lot of this is what you have taught me is basically do all of the blood work, do all the study, get them on a good diet, get them on proper supplements before you start treating them with stem cells or apheresis or TPE. Absolutely.
That's amazing. That's so exciting.
It is very exciting. So I know you're interviewing me, but let me ask you some questions because you did a video and you basically said there are very few unicorn doctors out there. Okay. And you are a unicorn doctor. There's no question you are. And I'm going to tell you, in all the time I've been looking for, I see it. Let's see the unicorn. All the time I've been looking for doctors, there's maybe, I think I have 12 in the country that are unicorns. And all the rest, either they want to stay hidden as unicorns, they don't want to come out, or they're not unicorns. I'm serious. Your specialty is mold and Lyme, and I do everything. There are a lot of other diseases as well. But you've been so successful with the results. The results are phenomenal now, are they not?
They are.
Yeah.
They are.
So that's where I'm impressed with the unicorn. So thank you for being a unicorn.
Thank you. It all stemmed from, I started this clinic doing it virtually just because, COVID and starting up and not sure if I was going to do this or if it was going to work. And every time I would send somebody somewhere and realize that they couldn't get it, right? Like whether it be stem cells or IV phosphatidylcholine or apheresis or EBU, or it was all things on my healing journey that I found to be, game changing. And I couldn't have them go no matter where it was. If it was a big market, if it was a small market, I couldn't have them get what I would want for them, right? They'd go into a regular IV place, get something that wasn't perfect for their genetics, and they'd have a horrible result. So that's why I say, I didn't really want a brick and mortar, but now that I have it, I absolutely love it. And we have big news actually, because yesterday my architect, who's also my godfather, submitted our last drawing to it's next door to Green Bay, for our new 3-acre healing center. So we will be hopefully building. I said we were going to hopefully be done by fall, but now that it's June, I'm thinking we probably won't be done by fall. But we're doing that, and then we're going to build mold-safe housing so that if people want to come and recover with us and get out of their molds or their environment that isn't healthy for them, they can stay either, short-term for weeks while they're receiving therapy or months, or they can move the whole family here and just relocate and be in our mold safe housing. So the housing is our second project, because I can't do both at the same time in terms of my headspace and economics, but super excited because we just got the last drawing approved so we could actually go forward with looking for builders and all that fun stuff.
That is really amazing. That is really good.
So it's really cool.
I was from Milwaukee. You know this, right? I was from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I moved to Florida when I was 13 years old. I do have relatives in Milwaukee still. If you need a contractor, I probably have one of my relatives to introduce you to really good contractors. So
that's amazing. You know everybody.
I still have my grandfather's house. We've had it in our family for about 112 years now, and I have my brother renting it from me. It's going to my youngest son when I pass to make sure it stays in the family. So it was built for the sheriff of Milwaukee when it was first built. He was there 12 years, and then we bought it from him, and we've had it for 112 years. So pretty crazy.
Do I remember correctly that your brother has MS and is not treating it like you do?
That's the one renting the house for me. You're absolutely correct. He was diagnosed at 19 years old. Yep, he was diagnosed at 19. He was paralyzed in the hospital for about a week and then came out of it. He has RRMS, relapsing remitting, and it goes away and comes back. But you always lose something when you get it. Okay, so now he's in a walk. Right now he's 70, 71. Yeah, and he's in a walker now. But again, I wish we knew when he was 19 what we could have done. Again, what I see is there's so many things. Dr. Richard Burt had done over 17 years ago. He is the founder of doing HSCT for MS. He was actually treating leukemia patients with donor cells and said, why couldn't this work for MS using their own cells? And that's what he studied, and he got great results. He's the first one that did it that way. He also does Crohn's disease using that same protocol, HSCT, ACL. There's all these different things that can work, but we're doing patients right now with the same things, Crohn's disease, ACL, and it's helping. I would say ACL is hard. It depends how long they've had it. Okay. Same thing with Parkinson's. We have a patient we deal with Parkinson's. He had it for 7 years. He's so much better. Okay. So he had brain fog, no facial expressions, because when you have Parkinson's, you lose that. And we treat him once a month for 3 months, our standard protocol. And he said, my brain fog's gone. I'm back to running my insurance company again. And he was telling jokes, and we're going back and forth. You can see his face laughing. He has expression. The only thing he has left is his hands are still tremoring. He has tremors. So there is a method that Dr. Thomas, our medical director, he's an oncologist. You can radiate one nerve in the brain and you can remove tremors. And there's a 70% success rate that you remove the tremor. Now, I personally, that would scare the heck out of me. I don't know that I would do that. Yeah. But if they want me to try it because they're so embarrassed of the tremors, that's really all he has left. You could try that. You could do that.
Is he going to?
All these. I'm sorry?
Is he going to try it?
No, he's like me. He's afraid of anybody touching his
brain.
He's
like, I'm good.
I agree. I would probably keep the tremors too. I really would. But remember too, there are other exercises that can make you stop having tremors too. There's all these mapping. I'm going to tell you I'm going to tell you a short story. Okay. When I was in my 20s, one of my best friends bought a puppy for his little girls, and he went to work. He calls me that night when he gets off work. The puppy had been stuck underneath a dresser all day. The dresser fell, the leg came off of it. So he called me, he said, I don't know what to do. I lifted the desk, got him out. The dog was trying to roll. His brain was damaged. Okay. Took him to the emergency room. They knocked him out and they said, well, look, he's damaged half his brain, but the dog is a puppy. He could remap his brain and everything worked out normal again. That's exactly what happened. He was in within 6 months, he was a normal puppy again, and he'd listen, everything was fine. So you can remap your brain. Don't ever think you can't. We've had different patients with different problems. A lot of it is within therapy to remap your brain. There's one that you take a mirror and you're looking at this hand, right? And then you make this hand replicate, and all of a sudden this hand is doing what this hand was doing. It's like, what? It works. There are different ways to trick your brain and remap your brain. Okay. But these are all things that people have known for years, all these different things, stem cells, these different types of brain therapies. And we weren't doing them. We were going to medication. When you get your license, you're taught how to take medications and treat a patient. And this medication works for this, but this could be a problem if I mix this with this. You're more of a chemist than you are a doctor,
Totally.
and you should not be that way. You should be doing as many natural things as possible. That's what we believe.
That's amazing. So let me have you weigh in on whether you think you are interesting because your brother also has MS. Do you think MS is genetic? Do you think it's 100% genetic?
No, definitely not. Definitely not. Now, here's what's interesting though of that, me making that statement. My second aunt has MS, my cousin has MS, my brother has MS, and I have MS. We all live in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Okay. What's interesting when you go back and do the research, there's a very high concentration in Wisconsin, very high concentration in New York. I can't tell you why that is, except it's environmental. Now, does it mean that we eat too much cheese because Wisconsin's known for cheese? Is that what that is? I don't know. Is it too much dairy? I don't know. But here's what I believe, okay? And again, my opinion based on what I've read and what I've seen and talking to doctors. You had to have had mononucleosis, Epstein-Barr. You've had to have, because 100% of all MS patients have had Epstein-Barr. 100%. Okay. Then you have to have a low vitamin D count, D3. So I would recommend everybody that if you're doing supplements, always do a D3 with your supplement instructions. I also recommend creatine. I take creatine every day. But again, I'm not a doctor. This is just what I do. I take a multivitamin, I take D3, and I take creatine, and that's it. That's all I take. I don't take anything else. But the multivitamin has everything else, the iron, the magnesium, everything else I need, in my opinion. Okay. So we're talking Epstein-Barr. Okay. We're talking D3. We're talking you do have to have the gene. And the last thing is, well, there's two more things I think. Environment. Did we eat the wrong foods? Did we drink the wrong water? What was in our diet that could have amplified this, made it happen? Okay. And then the last thing is a significant event, a trauma. So maybe you had lesions, but there was still enough firing to that you didn't notice them very much. Maybe your fingers were numb or something. You get this massive trauma, all of a sudden those nerves are shutting down. And I think that was the final trigger with me. I had just gone through a divorce, got remarried. So like in a 2-year window, got divorced, got remarried. And it was just a lot of trauma happening, a lot of things in life going on all at once. So I think that might have been, the trigger point of it. Because I was fine all my life until I was 58. And then I was diagnosed with MS.
And you've always been an entrepreneur. You've always been a hard worker. Because I think you were retired, weren't you, when you went through all this?
I am a real
First
estate
career.
investor.
Yeah.
So I am a real estate. Well, I did a lot of businesses, but I actually say I've lived over 4 lives already. So I've had 4 different long-term careers. Been married 4 times. I know that's a bad thing. That wasn't my choice, but it happens. But no, I think that my last thing I did when I was retired at 58. I had a lot of rental properties and I was living on the passive income and I was done. And I had a hobby of working on alternative energies. I believe there's means to get better energy for less pollution, less waste. And I was working on that as a hobby. And then when I was diagnosed, it was like I couldn't focus on even the real estate or anything. And I said, okay, I am going to go ahead and get this treatment. And when I got back, I was just going to go back to my hobby. And I was like, nope, I've got to help people. I just felt so joyful. Imagine, you get a new wife and then she has to push you around in a wheelchair. And don't get me wrong, I mean, it is a life and it's a quality of life, but I've never had that before. And I have a young child. I just couldn't fathom that happening to me. And especially that with brain fog is really bad because your brain fog, you can't even speak. You don't know, you're trying to think of the word and what am I going to say next? Where's that word coming from? It's not coming, being paralyzed on one side, not being able to use your left hand. And I am left-handed, by the way. So being left-handed, losing my left hand was terrible. I was like devastated about that. So yeah, yes, I was retired. I came out of retirement. Here's my goal for the public company. I hope my son watches this podcast. My youngest son and he was my mentor when he was 15 years old. I'm sorry, I was his mentor when he was 15 years old. He is now my assistant, and he's going to UCF. My son is going to FAU, and they both get out one more a year. So by 2028, they graduate, and I'm hoping that they both take over the company. That I can take the next 3 to 5 years to teach them. That way, they're young enough and they can keep it going. Because as you get older, you get slower and slower. I don't
Yep.
think it's happened to me yet, but it will. So I'm hoping, and they both say they want it, that they take over the company and they continue, and they're going to have more imagination than me. They're going to have more new ideas, a fresh start again, and know and learn more things. What they tell me, know what they show about social media that I don't know about AI, all these crazy things that are amazing. I use AI to ask a million questions every day now because I don't know the answer. AI knows the answer.
So handy.
It is. It is.
Tell me about your diet. I remember on our first take that I missed, you said one of the first things you would ever suggest to an MS patient. And P.S., I think that there is a link between Wisconsin and our really high Lyme population. Everybody that I've ever seen with MS has Lyme and co-infections. So I think that's linked.
Right.
I think obviously, like you said, Epstein-Barr, but you had said something about first thing you would do is diet. So what does your diet look like? Obviously you take good care of your body. You don't have.
Wisconsin. I'm never in the winter. That's why, right?
That's right. I love that.
Okay. So here's what I talk to 1 to 2 MS patients per week. I still do because I have another podcast I did with MS Hope, which is Matt Embry out of Canada. And he's had MS since he was 19 years old, never had relapse since 19. So there are supplements, there's diet, and there's exercise. Okay. Let's talk about diet first. You're exactly right. Number one, our wheat, our flour, our noodles, our breads, they have such high concentrations of what is it called?
Glyphosate.
I'm sorry?
Glyphosate.
Yes,
Roundup.
thank you. Yeah, Roundup. No other country will buy our products. Okay.
That's right.
I went to Italy for 2 weeks trying to do a treatment for my dropping foot, and I ate steak and pasta and pizza and so much food.
So good.
I thought for sure I gained 10 pounds. I came back, I had lost 5 pounds. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going back to Italy. So here, our foods are not natural. Our foods are GMO. They have, like you just said, they have toxins in them. You need to first of all focus on it's called one ingredient foods. So have a steak, okay? Have a potato, okay? Do not add all kinds of things to that. So have an apple. All right. Do not eat fast food. And I have a problem. I still eat Chipotle. I had Chipotle today. I'm sorry. Don't beat me for it.
It's okay.
But when I'm in a hurry, I have to eat something, and that's kind of healthy, but not that healthy. So try reducing your fast foods. Try eliminating if you can. I know Whole Foods are expensive, but there are ways around that. We have a Trader Joe's here that's much less expensive. We have a Fresh Market, it's cheaper than Whole Foods and Sprouts. So that's where we get our food. We don't go to the normal grocery store to get our food. Your supplements, if you go to MS Heal the World, you'll find the supplements on that site for MS patients. You do have a higher concentration of magnesium, iron, things like that. As far as exercise, no matter how bad you are with any illness, force yourself to exercise. Okay. I exercise. I have a trainer. I exercise 3 days a week. I leave my house at 5 o'clock in the morning. I get there by 5:30. I'm done by 6:30. And I go back home, take care of my dogs, take a shower, take care of my dogs, and then come to work. So that's my routine 3 days a week. And to me, if I didn't do that, I'd probably be in terrible shape right now. I mean, I'm almost I'll be 63 in September.
Amazing.
For somebody my age, I'm in pretty decent shape. My son, my 20-year-old son is that he's like, Dad, you got bigger arms than I have. And I'm like, I'm working on something. I'm trying, So I'm so happy that you feel better when you exercise. You get those endorphins. You need to work out. So, and even when I was in Mexico getting this procedure done, it took me 3 days to stimulate the stem cells from my bone marrow to my blood so they can extract them. That normally takes 5 to 7 days. I did it in 3. Okay. When I was in neutropenia, that means that no immune system at all. They gave my stem cells back on a Friday. They did the test Monday morning, and I had 2,000. So they bring you down to 200 parts per million white blood cells or less, okay? But not 0, because 0 is myeloablasive. So it's non-myeloablasive. So then they did the test Monday morning. I had 2,000, meaning 50% of my immune system was already back within 3 days, okay? And I state that is because of diet, supplement, and exercise. So you can repair yourself much faster when you do that. And exercise it's 50% of everything you need, is the way I say it, right? So 25% is your supplements, 25% is your diet, 50% is your exercise. Because you can burn out a lot of toxin in your body by exercise. So that's my opinion.
That's amazing. What else do you do to detox? Like, are you a sauna guy? Do you love I'm guessing you're not a magnesium bath kind of guy, but maybe I'm wrong.
No, I have glutathione topical spray that I still use that. The only problem we have a topical spray that it has great results. It shows
Smell.
a study, a 1 year study showing that it works really well. It smells like sulfur for like 5 minutes. So that is the only bad thing about it, is that sulfur smell. But other than that, it's awesome. I've tried the what was the one? The Markin Blue, is that what it was called? The no, it's blue
Ethylene blue?
something. Methylene blue. Thank you. Yes, methylene blue. I tried that. I didn't see any results with that. I did the drops when my tongue turned blue for that first, and I took the pills. None of that worked in my opinion. I tried. There was some like stem gen that they claim it stimulates your stem cells. Had that for 6 months, saw no effects. Remember, a lot of those things may show an effect, but it's a tiny effect, and that's the problem is they're selling these for these crazy prices and want you to buy it every month forever, and it doesn't do enough. It's so minor that it's not worth doing, you know. So that's my again, these are all my opinions, but I'm
Of course.
I'm saying based on what my experience was.
That's amazing. Do you feel like you have good energy?
I have great energy.
I'm
I work
shocked.
12 to 13 hours a day. As of right now, I'm into 12 hours and 20 minutes of working. I got here at 7 o'clock this morning. It's 7:20 right now, or almost 7:20. So
I'm
yes, I have
sure
way
I'm
more
sure you
energy. My
I'm sure
wife
you
can't
outwork
stand me.
everybody.
Yeah, my wife can't stand me. She's like, "How can you keep going every day? How can you?" We bought we bought a townhouse in Ponce Inlet. Ponce Inlet is a ocean area. It's a peninsula on the Atlantic, and I've been going there every weekend working on it. So I'm working here, say 60, 70 hours a week, and on the weekends I used to be a contractor. Remember, I told you all these lives I used to live, right? I go and do things that I enjoy doing. I just built a vanity for my wife because it came unassembled. I built this vanity. And then she wants the fireplace was kind of old and like it was like a 1986 unit, and I'm making it like a 2026 unit. So I'm putting an electric fireplace in. So I'm designing the back structure using shiplap. And it's just I'll get pictures. Actually, you guys are invited to come down whenever you want to go to spend some time there. Take a break from life. So anyway,
I love
I'm
that.
going again this weekend to do the final touch up. We have just a bunch of caulking and touch up paint, and we'll be done by this weekend. We'll be 100% done.
Well, that was perfect because we were going to come before Gio decided he needed to have the surgery. We were going to come out and see you for your Dr. Browning for his back.
Yes. Right, for
And
guidance.
you said it was going to be ready. And you, unlike most contractors, you're actually true to your word because we were going to come out in 2 more weeks and you said we could stay with you. So you're spot
You
on.
would have been
Nice job.
you would have made it. Well, so it's not the contractor. My contractor's behind, so I kept catching him up. That's what it
That's
is.
what it was.
That's what it was. But again, it's
So,
something
yeah.
understand. I enjoy working with my hands. I still do my own yard work. My lot's like just under 2 acres. I still cut the grass, edge trim, I do everything still because I believe you have to still get your hands dirty. I believe you still have to be active to be part of the world, to be
Agreed.
part of nature. And I have my lawn guy does all my commercial, or sorry, all my rental properties. I'm not gonna do all those. But he's like, why won't you let me do your house? I said, because I enjoy it too much. I get 4 to 5
Amazing.
hours on a Saturday. They get to whatever I want. Put my headphones on, and nobody bothers me. And I get to do stuff. And when I'm done, I'm like, wow, I cut that grass. I edged that. Oh my god, that looks really good. You get to see the result. That's the idea.
Super. What are you teaching your daughter about regenerative medicine? Because you're kind of like a founding father here.
So my daughter's been at the clinic. You show my 7-year-old, right? My
Yeah.
24-year-old. Yeah, she's been at the
Yes.
clinic many times, and she's been very quiet because doctors love to talk. And she sits on my lap and she listens. And she's been very good about it. I mean, normally she's very hyper like me. She's got a lot of energy, but she understands how important it is to let this meeting's important. So she sits and listens. My mother-in-law is now one of our nurses at the clinic. We just hired her about 3 weeks ago. She moved down from South Carolina to Florida 3 weeks ago. She is now one of our nurses. Hardest problem you have is finding people that are going to be responsible and going to show up, right? And why not? If you can keep it in the family, why not keep it in the family? You know?
You
That's
can't
what I'm
keep it
saying
in the
about having my
pants.
son and Jake, my assistant. That's keeping the family. Jake is I said I started mentoring him when he was 15 years old. His parents called me and said, "Hey, this kid has so many ideas. He wants to do everything. He wants to learn about real estate." So I said, sure, have him come in. He'll learn by osmosis hanging around, and he'll see how real estate really works and how you buy something and you rent something. And then he stayed. Well, I wasn't even doing real estate. He still wanted to learn more. So he's doing a lot of things. In the summertime, he works full time. And then while he's in college, he works 20, 25 hours a week. But at least he'll have all the knowledge of the clinic and how everything's working. So hopefully he'll be able to take over with my son.
That is amazing. Are they besties?
They're close. Yeah. They don't fight. They like, I'll say if it was my two daughters, they'd be fighting all the time. Well, these two guys don't fight. They like figure out how they would address the situation. I tell them all the time, I said, look, here's the problem. Okay. I've retired. I'm not here. What would you do? And see if they come up with the same answer. And they talk about it and come back and say, we both agreed to this. And that's awesome. Because that means they're not going to fight when they're doing business together.
That's
If
great.
they both had extremely different opinions, they would never work.
That's amazing. That's incredible. Is your wife a part of the business, or does she just take care of you on the back ends?
She's a stay-at-home mom. She did help me when we started recruiting for the autism study. She did do some TikToks for me, and we did one together. And I would say, literally, that was the highest result of parents wanting autistic children treated, because it's more personal. So yes, she absolutely supports me. She's the one that found HSCT for me, to get the treatment done. I think one of her friends had MS in Ohio and told her about it. She told me. So of course, yeah, she absolutely supports me. No question.
Beautiful. If you were to tell somebody who just got a life-changing diagnosis, like whether it be ALS or Parkinson's or MS or something, if you were to sit down with them and chat and give them all of your knowledge, which wouldn't be possible because I could talk to you for days, but if you were to talk to them and say, hey, George, this is what you have to do, how would you go about bringing them hope in terms of how they can heal?
So the first thing I would tell them is don't procrastinate. Don't waste time. If I would have gone a year sooner for MS, to get the HSCT done for my MS, I wouldn't have dropping foot right now because it was repairing. It was getting better and better. If I went a year sooner, it took that long to do all the research and finally say, okay, I'm going to go. And then when I decided to go, it took 3 months to get in. Okay. So don't procrastinate. Talk to somebody like you. Talk to somebody that knows more natural, knows supplements, knows diet, knows exercise, knows all the things in your life you need to start changing, and do that first. Okay. While you're trying to find the path to repair, do all those things first. Okay. And I tell this to I have MS patients, like I said, call me 1 to 2 a week. And the first thing I tell them, what's your diet? Okay, nope, got to change your diet. What's your supplements? Nope, got to change supplements. Are you exercising? Nope, you got to exercise. Even if you don't have the energy to exercise, at least try. And if it's only 2 minutes, well, then take a break and do it again for 2 minutes and keep going until it gets to 4 minutes, gets to 6 minutes, gets to 30 minutes. You only need to exercise 30 to 45 minutes a day. I prefer doing it 5 days a week. I just don't have the time. But if you could do 5 days a week, 30 minutes a day, that's all you need. And you're going, again, that's 50% of healing yourself, of making you better. That's what I believe. So then from there, let's talk about what you can do depending on the illness. Talk to a doctor like you, talk to one of my doctors, and let's figure out whether is it stem cells that work? Is it TP that works? Is it just exosomes? Depending on your illness, we have a lot of the protocols for different illnesses already. And we have, I told you about the unicorns. We have 12 around the country, right? You're one of the unicorns that when I have a problem with somebody with mold or Lyme disease, I call you immediately because you've run into so many patients with that. You know the answers. Okay. I have a doctor. I'm not going to tell you what state they're in or I think you already know, but that treats cancer patients. And we get all the information from her for cancer patients. We refer them to her. So these unicorns around the country all have a specialty. The ones in New York, they had the autism 40 to 50 children per month. We were sending them there first. Now we're doing the same thing and we have a little bit improved protocol. But it was part of them that helped us with the protocol, saying what they were doing once. The reason a lot of them are saying once a month for 3 months, one treatment can, yes, help get you better, but your body needs time to repair. So why would you not keep layering is what we call it. We're laying the stem cells and exosomes. So you get 100 million and 3 trillion exosomes. And as you're going through that month, they're multiplying. Okay. So say we get to 1 billion stem cells. Now we do another 100 million. Now the next month, you're going to get 2 billion stem cells. We're building this up to where your body has time to repair. Your body can't repair in a week or a month. It takes sometimes 3, 6 months, a year to repair. Especially nerve damage is probably one of the hardest ones, takes the most time to repair. but you'll see the change, and that's why we do 3 treatments. You go to Panama, they do 1 treatment for like 25 grand. Oh, this is going to work. No, it's going to delay it, and it may help you better, get you better for a short time. But my job is to repair, not to do something temporary. And that's our goal, is to make this permanent. Okay. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing that these autistic kids, 9 months later, they're still getting better. That's huge.
Incredible.
So we think that this protocol is going to be one of the best protocols. We know doing it once does help, but we think doing it 3 times, they keep going, they keep improving. And remember too, the CD34 cells in stem cells, in umbilical cord blood stem cells, I gotta say it that way, because not every cell has, or stem cell has, CD34s. If you get them from tissue, they don't have CD34s in them. CD34s go into your bone marrow, okay, and they continue growing. And the CD34s are what come out when you have damage and try to repair, okay? When you have a leukemia patient, their goal when they're doing a donor stem cells, they're looking for the highest concentration of CD34, okay? So we have a very high concentration that, again, blood makes more sense than tissue. I've always said that. And every time I'm talking to doctors, at first they're like, no, I've done the research. I show them the papers and they go back and they apologize because they didn't do the research. Okay. You need to look at what makes the most sense. And just, again, I'm not a doctor, but common sense says blood from blood makes sense. Tissue going into blood doesn't make sense. I just don't understand why they'd ever do it that way. And don't get me wrong, MSCs do work, do have some effect, but we have MSCs in our product. We have roughly 1%, we'll say, well, you're doing 100 million, that's 1 million MSCs, right? But you're buying this other product that only has 1 million MSCs or 2 million MSCs. They don't have all the other proteins and growth factors that we have. To tell me that it only repairs immune systems is impossible, because your stem cells go into your blood to repair anything in your body. You get cut, what happens? More CD34s go out of your bone marrow, go into your bloodstream to go to that damaged area. You get sick, same thing happens. More come out and go to those areas.
It's incredible. What a gift. And thank you so much for taking an hour out of your I'm Changing the World week, as you normally do. And we are so blessed. All of my listeners, when I said that I was going to interview you last week, I got so many things like, send me the link for the podcast. And then I had to recant and be like, it's really going to be next Tuesday because I screwed up. But thank you so much for coming and sharing. I'm sure we will have a big demand on stem cells after everybody listens to this.
Absolutely. And I would tell them,
Such a
just
pleasure.
call for a consultation. Why wouldn't you? It makes sense to say, hey, could they help? And that's the idea. The idea is have a consultation and see what the possibilities are. That's the biggest point. And
I
like I
love
say,
it.
you're treating, you have the ability to treat anything, right? You're treating any type of illness
Everything.
as long as you have that consultation and it makes sense,
Correct.
right?
Super exciting. Well,
Well,
thank
thank you,
you. I can't
Unicorn.
wait to have you, because I'm sure you're going to go on and do even cooler and big. Well, I don't know if they get any bigger, but even cooler and bigger things. And as that happens, we'll have you back on to chat. You'll get to meet my co-host, Dr. Gabby. She is in Spain right now. She's doing her 2-week family European adventure. So she was not able to join us. Last week, she was in Switzerland when we were supposed to get our recording. And today she's in Spain. But maybe next time you will get to meet her when we get a catch up on where in the world is Larry now.
Great. I'm kind of jealous, though. She's going all
I know,
all the
right?
world, huh? Wow. Well, we'll
Although
do this
she's doing
first.
it with 3 kids. So I don't know
Wow.
about
Not as
jealousy.
easy.
Yeah.
Not as easy.
Yeah.
So let's do this. Let's you and I save the world first, then we'll all go on around the world cruise. How's that?
That's quite obviously what
Let's
we're
do
going to do.
Exactly.
And we'll make
All
it
right, Lyday.
educational so we can write it off.
Right. That's right. Well, Lyday, thank you so much. Like I said, you are one of the few unicorns out there. I hope that we find more, because that's going to be the answer. The answer is the more unicorns out there, the more people we can heal.
You got it. I love you so much,
right.
Larry. Thank you for joining
course.
us.
You're welcome. Thank you for
Have
inviting
a
me.
beautiful night.
Yeah, you too. Take care.
Bye, love.
Bye.